Here we go. So we did see this beginning part again, but for people who weren't there, we'll just start here.
I want to make something crystal clear before I move forward with this video. Everybody is allowed to have opinions. Everybody is allowed to voice those opinions, but they have to make sure that they are weighing the consequences of their own words and understanding what kind of impact they're going to have. And
I'm going to say something. I don't think everyone should voice their opinions. I think it's very dependent on what we're talking about. I've mentioned this before, but if we're talking about vaccines and your opinion, I don't think vaccines work. I don't want to hear your opinion. I think your opinion is bad, actually.
I don't think that's happening. I don't think it's happening at the scale that it should. I don't think it's being called out the way that it should. And I think it's had a detrimental effect on the relationship between the customer and the game developers. Deep-rooted narcissism and a lack of consequences. That's ultimately what the problem here is. And I've been looking at a lot of the discourse over.
It's always narcissism with these guys, and it's so insane that they don't understand the cognitive dissonance they're engaging in. I can't really tell what this video is going to be about, because he is ultimately, even though he tries to present himself as apolitical, he is very clearly right-leaning, which makes me know that he's going to try to frame this as, like the title says, that these activist people they're injecting too much of their personal beliefs to games and ruining things. That's my assumption right now. Let's see if that pans out.
For the past couple of weeks and some of the tragedies that have happened. And for me, and I think for a lot of people as well, it's not even a partisan issue as much as it is a problem or an issue with professionalism and general morals. You have game developers flying the flag of their company in their social media bios, running around using the influence that's been afforded to them by those same employers, going around promoting and celebrating the loss of life of their political opposition. That's unacceptable.
So then, wouldn't that then be a bipartisan issue and not a moral one if you're talking about it from a political standpoint? And also, he's already trying to hype this up about no one. Oh my God. No, if this is going to be, which I think it's going to be about, if this is going to be about the goddamn Sucker Punch employee, they were not flying the flag of their company and using their company's leverage on fucking Blue Sky to like their 2,000 followers.
They're doing it without any care to the risks it's going to bring to not only their games, but their coworkers and their studio. All for some upvotes on an edgy comment for Blue Sky.
Did I not call it?
Product. That is the saying in the entertainment industry, whether that's social media, video games, movies, television, or whatever else. Anytime that you open your mouth, every time you think that you have something worth saying, realize that you're always going to risk alienating your audience. And from my perspective, at least with this hobby, I don't think that anything here is supposed to represent alienation.
What the fuck are you talking about?
A year later, giving the same talk, the same sobering lesson on business ethics, on professional ethics, on communication. Because for whatever reason, the video game industry doesn't know when to shut its own mouth because, well, they think that their opinions matter more than their coworkers and their customers.
What the fuck are you talking about? You said at the outset, did he not say he thinks everyone should have their own? Am I losing my mind? Chat, am I tweaking? We're only a minute into 157. He says this. Beginning of this video.
Crystal clear before I move forward with this video. Everybody is allowed to have opinions. Everybody is allowed to voice those opinions, but they have to make sure that they are weighing the consequences of their own words.
And then now he's saying 157? Or 55?
And their customers. Industry doesn't know when to shut its own mouth because, well, they think that their opinions matter more than their coworkers and their customers.
I don't understand. Is it everyone's allowed to have their opinions so long as they think about the consequence? Or is it people who work in video games can't have opinions because it alienates their customers? You, within a minute, literally, you contradict your, God damn it, dude. This is why, how do you people have audiences?
I think it's a rather milquetoast take for me to come out and say that I think that society and entertainment have become increasingly more political. I think it's obvious at this point. It's hard to deny it. And it's to the point where you can't even escape it, even though that's exactly what most of us are setting out to do. I can't open a single app, game, TV show, or movie without having somebody trying to preach their politics to me. And the spaces that we used to have that used to be safe from it largely don't even exist anymore. And I think
I'm going to be pausing a lot because this is a legendary jobs video. Welcome to my channel. What the fuck? What the idea that these people have of video games being escapism and the escapism being solely what they want is so asinine to me. We have literal games where you are doing heavily political things. You have the Civilization games, you have the Tropico games, you have the fucking Just Cause games. You have so many games out there that are inherently, explicitly about politics. So for this notion to exist that everything's so political, I can't get it from their games. The games are political, but there are absolutely games you can play where the politics aren't at the forefront and center, but you don't like those games. That's the thing. They don't play those games. God damn it.
I think that's created this new kind of social divide in consumer products and media, where customers were once basing their purchasing habits off of practicality, quality, and enjoyment. Well, now this new category has forced its way into the equation, politics, and it's just complicating things.
That's not new.
I mean, it makes sense. Politics are deeply rooted in personal values and beliefs. They shape the way that we see the world and how we want to see the world. And I think in most cases, especially when it comes to entertainment, people do not want to engage with something that directly conflicts with their beliefs, or worse, outright demonizes them. That's why I've always advocated for less politics in entertainment, because I think it risks alienating audiences and escalating.
God damn it. I know I told you I'm pausing that, but this is my creative side coming out right now. If you are so fucking milquetoast that you want the content to be essentially apolitical for risk of alienation, you're a dumbass. I want you guys to tell me right now, what genre exists out there that is inclusive of literally everyone? There's not even mainstream genres that include everyone. You're always going to alienate people. That's how genres work. Not everyone's going to play Ghost of fucking Yote, right? Because they don't like this genre. That in itself is exclusionary. It's insane to me. Like, this is the point you're making. I've been preaching for years to have less politics again, just make it too. That's literally what he says. I'm not making this up.
Something that directly conflicts with their beliefs, or worse, outright demonizes them. That's why I've always advocated for less politics in entertainment, because I think it risks alienating audiences and escalating division. It's
no politics in video games because it risks alienation. Everything is alien. Oh my God, dude. Like, you can say this about literally anything. You can say this about literally anything. I don't think rap music should talk about guns and violence, because I think that's alienating to a listening audience. I don't think rock music should talk about sex and drugs, but I think that's alienating to a listening audience. Like, I don't think this book should cover topics about sexual assault, because I think that's alienating. Like, you could do so much. Like, it's so stupid. We're 3 minutes in. I want to kill myself.
It's the reason why I steer clear of those conversations myself. I have my own personal politics, of course, but I'm not interested or passionate enough to bring them here. I'm not informed or confident enough to speak on them with any level of authority that would...
This is going to be a 12-hour video. I hope you guys got your water. I hope you guys have a snack. Just admitting he has no strong opinions about anything. Like, I have my own personal politics. You have your own personal politics, and yet your own personal politics are so underdeveloped you can't mention it. These are your own personal your own personal politics, and you're telling everyone that you can't talk about it because you don't understand your own personal politics.
Enough to bring them myself. This isn't escalating division. It's the reason why I steer clear of those conversations myself. I have my own personal politics, of course, but I'm not interested or passionate enough to bring them here. I'm not informed or confident enough to speak on them with any level of authority that...
That's insane. This isn't a test. This isn't a poli-sci class. It's your own personal politics is literally your morality. What? Guess what? Legendary Jobs. I believe in harm reduction, right? That's my personal philosophy, my personal politics. So that would mean that things like genocide and war, I'm against. I don't have to have a fucking background in the geopolitical nature of like the Middle East to be like, hey, Israel doing a genocide is bad. I don't like that. I don't have to be an expert on the history of the Middle East to say that's bad. I can just say that's bad. I don't think people should be getting killed for X, Y, Z reasons. Like, you don't need to be a professor on this topic.
would be worth dividing my community over something that largely does not matter for the service that I provide. When I criticize some of these studios for forcing politics into their games, it's not because I secretly hold some kind of agenda. It's just because I believe that they just don't belong there. Players come from every background imaginable, different beliefs, values, experience.
Then this is your personal politics. Oh, you guys, I'm having an aneurysm. I'm having an aneurysm in real life. You're going to see a man die on stream tonight. What are you talking about? You said you don't care enough about this. You made a 20-minute video on this. You said you talked about this a year ago. How do you not understand your own words? If you are saying that you don't believe that politics belong in the games, that is your own personal politics. Oh, fucking dying here, man.
Experiences and different walks of life entirely, different countries entirely, and they don't need me or game developers telling them how to think. What they actually need is for people like me to respect their time and for developers to respect their experience. But while I see all of this as
what does that even mean?
It seems like developers believe otherwise. It feels like anytime there's a major controversy or tragedy, both game developers and games media feel compelled to voice their opinions. They use the platforms and recognition afforded to them by their employers or by the games that they worked on to broadcast those opinions to their audience and to their peers. And what I find to be the most disgusting and reckless misuse of that platform, Sucker Punch Studios' Drew Harris, a senior developer of Ghost of Yotai, came forward on Blue Sky to seemingly celebrate and make light of the brutal end met by political influencer Charlie Kirk. This was first discovered and reported on by gaming content creator Legacy Killa HD. Following the news of Kirk's passing, Drew posted on Blue Sky saying that I hope the shooter's name is Mario so that Luigi knows his bro got his back. A post that was liked multiple times by developers from the Coalition, Bungie, and a few others. As things unfolded, more developers were found weighing in. A localizer from Final Fantasy XIV was caught reposting a call for a purge. A witch hunt then ensued, and suddenly more players.
Wait, let's see the purge. Anyways, the choice America faces going forward is live in the live in Confederacy or do Reconstruction for real and purge those motherfuckers from all public life. And there isn't really an in between. Do you? Okay, this is perfect. Thank you, you moron. Do you understand how these are nothing? One was a joke about the name of the shooter being Mario or wanting to be Mario, and this is a purge from all public life. That doesn't mean go out and fucking kill them. What that means is do not allow these people to have public facing positions. Do not allow these people to affect public policy. That's why they specifically said public life. They didn't say purge motherfuckers from all life. They didn't say go out and exterminate people. They said public life. Like, god damn, dude. Like, they're not even trying. This is disgusting. Meanwhile, this guy's a fucking Asmongold simp who said shit like fucking literally genocide Palestinians.
Absolute bullshit. The dude takes a 5-minute conversation. I said it right here. Stuff like this is so disingenuous that all the people that are angry are just because they don't like the guy, not because this post is factual. Asmongold takes a 5-minute clip and makes it into an hour-long documentary. If anything, he's the gold standard of React content, and I wholeheartedly believe that. Wholeheartedly believe that.
Posting a call for a purge. A witch hunt then ensued, and suddenly more players and commentators were paying closer attention to the words of developers. Once Drew's post made it over to Twitter, with people sharing his comments directly to his employer, others sharing posts about canceling their pre-orders, and instead of backing down, Drew instead doubled down, mocking the situation entirely with posts like, I have been told that Twitter has noticed me from across the room, ooh woo. Some of y'all never have heard the critically acclaimed Mario Brothers franchise by Nintendo, and it shows.
This
and
is funny.
Maybe instead of emailing people's employers, y'all should be emailing your reps and demanding gun control.
These are all facts and true, though. Like, even when they try to spin this to be something so heinous that you deserve being fired, you look at this and the person made a joke in reference to the Mario Brothers because Luigi Mangione shot the CEO. And so all he said was he hopes the shooter's name is Mario, so he knows his bro has his back. That's it. And then you see these other comments. Nothing here should be fireable.
Immediately. I don't even know what to say. I am stunned by the lack of self-awareness and care here. Not only are you representing your company, not only is your game already being dragged into the conversation with your employer being tagged in these posts, but then you just go and double down with more edgy posting and doing it using a competitor's brand. I honestly...
A competitor's brand? What the fuck are you talking about? What? What competitor's brand? He's talking about Blue Sky and Twitter. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Wonder how Nintendo feels about one of Sony's employees.
Oh, Nintendo.
Running around using the name of their company, their characters, and one of their most iconic franchises to make jokes about the death of a political influencer. Oh, wait, never mind. I do know. You lost your job.
Yeah, he lost his job because Nintendo. What was that tirade about? How would Nintendo feel? It's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Oh my God.
Look, I don't know anything about Charlie Kirk. I don't watch that kind of content. I don't follow the political sphere, and I don't have anything to add to the debate between people's love or hate for the guy. But what I will say is this: it is wholly unacceptable to condone, celebrate, or promote this kind of extreme violence. While I will say that I largely stay uninvolved in these political matters, usually on the side
on the
outside looking in, what I've seen over the last decade online is more and more communities that are normalizing it. Social media that is just fueling pockets of people that are escalating and celebrating violent rhetoric, deeply insecure and disturbing.
Do you think he will actually talk about it, like the people doing that, or is he going to focus squarely on this to make it seem more like it's a certain side doing things?
Groups of people that are just gassing each other up, egging people on to ruin their lives and the lives of others just so they can have somebody else to point to and say, at least I'm not them. From my perspective, gaming should never be that space. Game developers should not allow it to turn into that kind of space. If anything, this industry should be doing the exact opposite, toning rhetoric down, lowering the temperature, and recognizing the risk of what happens if this keeps escalating. Especially now, we are walking into unknown territory after such a horrific event. After seeing the post from game developers speak...
Wait. But Legendary Drops, go into detail. What unprecedented times are we running into? Like, you can't just pay mounts. Why are you vague posting? What happens
if this keeps escalating? Especially now, we are walking into unknown territory after such a horrific event.
But what's the unknown territory? What's happening? This is the shit I hate so much. This is why I hate these fucking content creators like this. They're too fucking pussy to actually say what they mean. Do you want to know what's happening right now? You have Fox News saying that video games are the problem. Okay? That's what's happening right now. You have a president who's overreaching and attacking First Amendment rights by getting people pulled from networks by threatening the broadcasting license of said network. That's what you have right now. You have our political, at least my standpoint, my political enemies, the people on the right, are in power, and they are trying to enforce their own will across the board. That's what's happening here. But you want to fucking vague post and be like, oh, just unprecedented things are happening and we're in some scary times. We know what's happening. If you are so unaware about what's happening in the world, as you've stated multiple times, why the fuck are you talking about it?
After seeing the post from game developers speaking up, I put my own thoughts on Twitter and I wrote, I don't think that they realize how much this damages their brand, puts their coworkers at risk, and alienates.
Oh, of course. The guy who, I love this. I love the full circle here. Earlier in the stream, if you guys weren't here, I specifically went to Pirate Nation's page because of him trying to start a harassment campaign against the voice actor for Grand Theft Auto 6 because of the post that they made on their own Instagram account about Charlie Kirk, which they then deleted, not the actress, Pirate Nation. And so for him to have retweeted Pirate Nation, I doubt you are not political. In fact, I'm pretty confident Legendary Drops, we know where you lay on these things. I wish you would stop being a pussy and just say it. Every one of your videos is fucking filled to the brim with dog whistles. Just say you're conservative. I promise you won't lose your audience. You'll probably gain a bigger audience. I don't think they realize how much this damages the brand. It doesn't. I doubt anything will happen. Like when Avowed/Obsidian, when their devs ego tripped, nothing happened because the studios shared the same values. What did they do?
Their audiences. Likely they don't care. I doubt anything will happen. Like with Avowed and Obsidian, when their devs ego tripped, nothing happened because the studio shared the same values. Luckily, something did happen in this case. Sony's been a little bit more proactive, probably because of the fact that they've had some recent failures. However, the second incident that I was referring to happened just before the release of Avowed. During the previews for the game, some people on social media were pointing out how the game was using pronouns, with Elon Musk criticizing it. And instead of just letting the game speak for itself, Obsidian's art director Matt Hansen jumped in, openly celebrating the controversy as he posted, "I wanted to make him mad with my game, and I can't believe it actually happened." And then, in the same breath, promoted the game. That move only poured fuel on the fire. Outrage grew. People started digging up older, deleted posts about Obsidian's hiring practices and...
Oh, this stupid shit. Like, why are you mentioning this, dude? This had, like, oh my God, man. Again, look at what's actually... Forget what... Let's ignore him for a second. Look at what is being said here. He said Elon Musk saying having pronouns in a fantasy game was utterly unacceptable because he's retweeting a piece of shit loser who's not a real game developer, who's a scam artist, Grumps. We know these people's behaviors and their history, so it's already tainted. We know that these people are not serious people and they just want to be mad. And instead of Legendary Drops ever by name calling these people out, he always avoids it. He vague posts some bullshit because he is ideologically aligned with these people. But he doesn't want to say that because he's bitch made. That's why he's like, oh, and then they double down. Bro, he said he wanted to make Elon Musk mad about his game and then made him mad. Anyways, if Valve comes out February 18th next year, give it a whirl if you ain't afeared of the woke mind virus. Nothing. Like, have you never been on the internet? You think this is like, oh, now people are going to be so upset because he made Elon Musk mad. Like, goddamn, dude.
In the same breath, promoted the game. That move only poured fuel on the fire. Outrage grew. People started digging up older, deleted posts about Obsidian's hiring practices. And for what? To me, it looked like somebody that was just letting their ego take the wheel and using their game as a platform to be able to divide their customers and push their personal politics. Xbox and Obsidian did nothing about it. And while you can agree with me or not, but I think that alienating your audience like that, they set their own game up for failure. Avowed peaked at just 19,000 players on Steam before sliding into obscurity a week later. I don't think these developers understand the
single player fucking game, dude. Like, and the thing is too, is like, first off, Legendary Drops, you repeat yourself so fucking much, this should not be a 20-minute video. But again, single player RPG, 19,000 people played it on Steam. And yes, apparently Steam is the only metric they have. Okay. Are you saying that because some people on Twitter were upset that the game tanked? Like, what do you...
impact of their words in a world that is more divisive, political, and connected than ever.
Also, why are you showing B-roll footage from fucking Borderlands 4? What does this have to do what you're talking about?
In an economy that's more difficult than ever, in a games industry where performance and quality are becoming increasingly more hit or miss, when you go out and you take these unnecessary risks that are rooted in your own ego, it's coming at the cost of your studio's reputation, your coworkers' future, and, well, the success of your game. Again, I want to be clear. It's not that you can't have opinions. It's not that you can't not like a political figure. It's just that you cannot be doing this on a platform that is afforded to you by your employer.
You've already said that.
I'll be real with you guys. When I see somebody that's posting that stuff that proudly and they're doing it so confidently, it likely tells me that they believe there's going to be no consequences for their actions because they likely do have coworkers that share the same views. We already know that's the case because we saw there was multiple people from the studio that had liked that post and shared that post that they had made. And that doesn't matter. Even if you have the support of your studio, your game's not even out yet. Why would you? All you've effectively done is just put your coworkers' lives at risk, their livelihood and their security. Look at the temperature of society right now. Look at the economy. Why would you go and poke the bear? It is.
Yeah, you guys, look at the temperature of society right now. Look at the economy. Let's not look any further. Stop right there. Just look at it. Don't analyze anything. Look at the temperature, but don't ask why the temperature is rising. Just look at it.
It's so reckless and it's so selfish. These developers don't understand that first impressions are oftentimes last impressions, and their words carry a lot farther than they think they do. I think that's obvious by now. And
no, the words only carry because fucking losers online with no jobs spend all day trying to find things for their ideological enemies that have said and then try to spin that to things. Like, that's what's happening. Why can't you... God, you're so myopic. Why can't you just admit blatant things? There have been harassment campaigns going back to fucking Gamergate, dude. This is what happens now. It doesn't fucking matter. The fact that the environmental artist or the character artist, someone who, let's be real, as much as I love video games and art, no one fucking knows. The fact that they're getting attention is only because there are people scouring the internet for that. You absolutely did not know who the character artist was, because most people only know the game director and then the game company. They don't fucking know who's like the lead environmental artist, who is the lead technical engineer. No one knows that, but now they do. Now we've had a consistency where people going after community managers that, again, no one gave a shit about. And then suddenly people on the right in the gaming space starting harassment campaigns against them, including the person you mentioned in your video, at least visually, Grumps, Pirate Nation. These are the people who were doing that. And because they've gotten some level of success, whether it's clicks on YouTube or follows on Twitter, more and more people are doing that. Sweet Baby Inc., a small consultation company, suddenly became the big boogeyman. Why? Because a bunch of right-wing grift tubers all decided to pile in on them. You didn't know who Kim Blair was, her last name is, who owned Sweet Baby Inc. You had no idea what her face looked like. You can't even tell me what the fucking president of hit detection looks like, because they weren't in the crosshairs. Like, why are you ignoring that this is the ecosystem? So of course their words are going to carry further, but not because people actually care.
When your game isn't even out yet, and this is the first time this game has gone viral since I remember it even being announced. And the only marketing material that I remember for it was Summer Games Fest, at least recently, I think. They've already been overshadowed by all of these multi-platform releases. Keep in mind, this game is going to be locked to PlayStation, at least initially. And every single game developer in the industry wants to release their game in September and October. This is going to stop a studio in its tracks. It could very well stop a studio in its tracks.
No, it can't. This is such a stupid statement. You really think Sucker Punch is going to be affected by this? You really think Sucker Punch, making a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, a game people fucking love, people are anticipating Ghost of Yotei, you think this was going to stop them in their tracks? You think 10 million people aren't going to play this game? Like, be so fucking for real.
Tracks. Who's to say this doesn't affect sales? Who's to say this doesn't result in layoffs? Hope it was worth it. Now I'll caveat and say
I hope it was worth it. Shut the fuck up,
of
dude.
like 250 developers, likely more developers because they're getting close or they're just about to release Ghost of Yotei. And the opinion of one developer does not define the entire studio, and nor does it define whatever the final product is actually going to look like once it's actually released into the wild. But I don't really think that matters that much, because when that game comes out, because of how recent it is, people are going to remember the developer that was doubling down. People are going to look at Jin Sakai and see how it switched to a female lead and be like, ooh. Even though, yes, I know his story is over. Believe me, I'm actually with people on that one. I totally understand that. They're also going to look and see that the voice actress for the main character is also very outspoken online. And they're going to start connecting the dots. They're going to start seeing all the red flags, and they're going to say, yeah, you know what? Nope, not buying it.
No, they're not. Oh, you're a moron? Like, legitimately. You legitimately a moron. You think people are going to be like, Jin Sakai's not here and the voice. No one's going to look up the voice actress for this. Oh my God, dude. Like, this is what I was talking about earlier when I say these people are so chronically online. They have no perspective outside of this. People aren't going to do that because people don't care enough to do that. People are not going to be like, remember that one Blue Sky account that said that they hope Mario is the name of the shooter or some shit, so like as a joke? No. Oh, and also Erika Ishii, who has her own dedicated fan base. Like, these people are so myopic. They think that people are going to get on the internet, fucking do a Pepe Silva conspiracy thing. Wait, this is happening here, and this is going here, and this. Never mind, I don't want to do it anymore. That's not going to happen. People are going to play this game. It's going to sell one. You guys can shut the fuck up forever. That's what's going to happen.
Honestly, I can't blame them. Not at all.
Yeah, this hallucinate situations.
You cannot afford to draw political battle lines on consumer products. They shouldn't even be there in the first place. And devs are probably looking at this entire situation. There's probably even people that are watching this video right now that are like, well, this is just venting. It's just edgy posting online. This is all cancel culture, people getting all mad about it. But I think that customers have noticed, especially with just the shift that we've seen in media over the past couple of years.
Are you going to tell him what the shift was? Is she going to say what the shift was, or is she going to vague post?
That this looks like misplaced priorities more than anything else.
Vague posting, okay.
It shows that we're not the priority in the conversation because they don't care what we think of what they have to say. And in a lot of cases, for a lot of people, they think that those opinions are ultimately going to bleed into the game itself. And for the people that believe that, they're not wrong. You know,
yes,
recently I made a video on Bungie.
Yes, they
I
are.
talked about how their original philosophy was simple, that they were their customers. They built games that they themselves wanted to play, and that perspective kept them grounded. But as the years went on, that started to shift, and it shifted towards money, towards greed. And in losing that perspective, they also then lost sight of what their players actually wanted and needed. And I think that that same problem is basically spread across the entire industry. In fact, I would actually argue that it's just entertainment as a whole now. They just don't see themselves and their customers anymore. Developers today, well, they think of their audience not as people like them, but instead as this like parasocial caricature of a customer, not someone who shares their same taste, but as somebody that wants to be taught by them, this imagined audience that wants to have their minds changed. Or
gang, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I don't know if I can finish this. This is the same fucking talking point he made the last video I did, which was with Crimes New Roman. It's the same shit. First off, gamers are the most annoying, whiny, entitled fucking consumer base there is next to Star Wars fans. Secondly, what are you talking about? This whole video, you've been looking at game developers as if they're not human beings. They should not be political. They should not have opinions. They shouldn't respond to anything happening in the world. Just make game. Where do you think their inspiration for making games come from? Oh, well, Bungie said they were just looking at it from the customer. Play games they want to play. Hey, what do you think that means? What do you think that means? I want to make games that I would play. Hey, so doesn't that have to take my opinion into consideration? What would TTBN, what would I want to play? I want to play a game where it's a fantasy world and there's no racism and there's no sexism. And so I create fucking Dragon Age. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. Look at them pushing a message about racism and this and this and this. How come there's like, do you see what I'm talking about? This always goes back to this. Your grievances are made up. Now they're talking about they want money. They've always wanted money. Developers work for companies. The companies want money. They've always wanted money. There's not a game company in the world that was like, we don't do this to make money. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Worse, the idealized version of who they wish their audience would be. But the truth
What
is,
are you
customers
talking
in the real
about?
world are messy. We are a chaotic mix of beliefs, lifestyles, backgrounds, values, and principles. We do not think as a monolith, and we never will. And the irony is, none of that actually matters as long as you're just doing your job. As long as your job is just to make games. And if your objective is to create something fun, compelling, or interesting, well, you don't really need to worry about who your customer is. You don't have to worry about trying to reshape their worldview. All you need to do is just make a game worth playing. And
what is that? Okay, no, you guys, I'm sorry. This is so stupid. These are empty words. He's just saying shit. None of these words have any sort of meaning. What are you talking about? Explain to me, what does this mean?
is to create something fun, compelling, or interesting.
Create something fun, compelling, or interesting. So Metal Gear Solid, political game. Does that not get made now? Because it's not what it's like, you know what I mean? Like, create something fun and compelling. Those are subjective. Because like you said earlier, people are not a monolith. So then they can make whatever they want. As long as it's fun, it's fine. But your fun and my fun, different things. Maybe I want a game that's heavily politicized. Maybe you don't. Don't play that game. I play that game. Like, it's like, as long as you're doing your job, if my job is to make a game that's political, then you're not going to like it. And if you don't like it, then it's some reason bad.
Well, you don't really need to worry about who your customer is. You don't have to worry about trying to reshape their worldview.
And I'm sorry, what games are like, I'm going to reshape your worldview? If we're playing like Disco Elysium and you're playing that game and you start to have your opinions changed, why is that bad? It's not the game is saying you got to change your opinions. but maybe the game is exposing you to a different philosophy that you originally never considered, and you're like, huh, wow, they're making some good points. What? No, this thing can exist. It's trying to change your worldview. You should never evolve your positions.
All you need to do is just make a game worth playing. And the moment that you lose sight of that perspective, the moment that you start thinking of your players as something to correct or fix, is the moment that you've already broken that relationship. I think the industry underestimates how influential social media has become in shaping the way that these games are received. Developers might not see it that way because they're living in these insulated worlds where most of their peers are sharing their same values, but
I just think it's super funny how not self-aware that statement was. Just saying.
Customers don't live in that same bubble. They see somebody on social media with the studio's name in their bio mocking, promoting, or celebrating something horrific, and they connect the dots immediately. They don't think to themselves, oh, this is that person's opinion. They think of that as the studio's opinion, as the game's opinion, and I don't think that they understand that yet. And
people do understand that. You're thinking people are so fucking stupid. It'd be different if this was like the head, like you're showing a lot of Borderlands footage. If Randy Pitchford, who again has said some shit to gamers, like, hey, in the tweet not too long ago, he talked about how like he tried to equate masculinity to people's like shaders in their PC builds, but like he was going after gamers for being like, maybe you should turn on the settings. Ooh, turn on the settings for your game. Hey Randy, your game doesn't run very well. Maybe you should turn on your settings. Guess what? People are still playing Borderlands 4. And he said that to gamers directly in a fucking thread. The CEO, the owner, the founder of a company doing that is vastly different than some fucking employee. That's what people understand, but you clearly don't. That's why Elon Musk retweeting white nationalists is a way bigger deal than someone who works on Twitter's API team doing that. That's why the president saying they're going after Jimmy fucking Kimmel is a bigger deal than like some Fox fucking host saying they don't like Kimmel. There's magnitude and nuance to this. When people talk about like movies, for example, if there was a film and the lead character said like, hey, I think black people are criminals, that's gonna, you know, do damage versus like one of the DPs said that like, they're not fond of Mexicans. Like there is a difference. And I'm so tired of people trying to pretend that there's not. Like everything's equal. That's not how it works in life.
Honestly, I don't think that the players are wrong to think that. Games are collaborative works. Studios often hire people who are culturally aligned with the studio, and if one developer is loud enough and confident enough to openly risk the studio's reputation online, it's a safe assumption to say that leadership either tolerates it or quietly agrees. Those values and those beliefs are ultimately going to make their way into the games. And by the way, this isn't a conversation about social politics.
Wait, no, he never explains how that works. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. Going back to earlier, Erika Ishii is a out and about LGBTQ member, and she's an ally. I mean, she's part of the group, but she's very pro queer. You think Atsu's gonna be in the gang and being like, I'm gonna kill these men not because they murdered my family, but because they're misogynist? Like, what do you like? It's not gonna bleed into the fucking
politics. This is just about how games are made, and I think players are starting to pick up on that. When priorities are misaligned, when developers are valuing their own personal opinions over a player's experience, the result is just this lower quality and preachy game.
What evidence of that do you have? You're just saying shit. You have no evidence to back up anything. You had fucking tweets, and we're 14 minutes into this video, and you provided no evidence to any of your fucking claims.
That people do not want to play. Video games aren't just collaborative works, they're creative works, shaped heavily by the beliefs and values of the people that are making them. We've heard studios talk endlessly about wanting to broaden their audience, but the more extreme and uniform some of these studios' internal cultures are becoming, it's the more likely that their games are going to narrow their audience instead of expanding it. We saw that with Dragon Age the Veilguard. Its themes, narrative, and gameplay failed to resonate, and because of that, players didn't just ignore the game. A lot of players actively went after it online because they felt betrayed.
No, they went after the game because a bunch of anti-woke losers saying you can have trans scars on your chest. Like, what is this?
Ignore the game. A lot of players in gameplay audience instead of expanding it. We saw that with Dragon Age the Veilguard. Its themes, narrative, and gameplay failed to resonate, and because
Its themes, narrative, and gameplay failed to resonate. And what's your thought process? Because they said, let's make it woke instead of trying to make it good. There's a whole, you can look at the behind the scenes of Dragon Age and why it ended up the way it ended up. And it's not because EA was like, let's gay this shit up even further.
Because of that, players didn't just ignore the game. A lot of players actively went after it online because they felt betrayed. And once that shift happens, once players stop seeing the identity of a game as
notice how he provides, again, no evidence for any of the claims he just made.
something that they're sharing between the developers and themselves, and instead start seeing it as a mouthpiece for a studio's values that don't include them, the relationship is over. That's why this backlash has been getting so visceral lately. It's not just disappointment with the product, it's a sense that they're being pushed out of something that they once cared about. Audiences that felt like they were collaborators in this creative journey with these developers suddenly feel like they're just the target of a message that they never asked for. I think one of the most dangerous forces in the industry right now is an audience that is turning against the game. People are just assuming it's bad PR or negative reviews, but it's far more corrosive than that. When players feel excluded, dismissed, or betrayed, they're not just walking away. These guys are pushing back. They're amplifying every single controversy, highlighting every flaw, and making sure that the wider audience never forgets the worst things that are associated with your studio. And
okay, so those are true, and that's bad. Like, let's let him say it again.
They're not just walking away. These guys are pushing back. They're amplifying every single controversy, highlighting.
They're amplifying every single controversy because they feel like the games no longer want them. But he will never talk about why they feel that way. So I will do his job for him. It is because, like I mentioned in my How the Right Dominates Gaming and my Paranoid video and all my other videos, right? It is the conservative mindset. Conservatives are constantly aggrieved. There is some perceived slight, and it's a wrong that will never be fixed. Because this video came out before the guy got fired from Sucker Punch, but even though he was fired, they're still saying, nah, we don't want Sucker Punch anymore because now we want you to get rid of or do something about Erika Ishii. Like, they're never going to be satisfied because their whole philosophy is constantly being aggrieved. So them feeling like video games as a whole is no longer for them is because they're upset that white straight guys are no longer the sole fucking focus. That is it. That's why everything now is woke and gay and bad, because it's not white straight dude bros anymore in every single game. They're only 95% now. They used to be 99%. So this is obviously reverse racism happening because of DEI or whatever. But that's the impetus for all of this. That's why you look at every game that's coming out that's not featuring a white guy in the lead, you see the same bullshit. You saw it with Assassin's Creed Shadows. You are seeing it with Reloaded. You're seeing it with fucking, oh my God, Ghost of Yotei. Hell, you've even seen it with Borderlands. You are seeing it all the time because it's the same grievance. But again, he will not ever mention that. Like, at all. He won't mention that. He vague post because he deep down knows that's what's happening, but that would alienate his audience. And he's very clearly said that he will do nothing to alienate audience ever.
Fighting every flaw and making sure that the wider audience never forgets the worst things that are associated with your
never forgets the worst things. Remember my video when I talked about how Asmongold and those guys wanted to forever boycott something and they want the people who worked on it to never work again, and how he was like, if they lose their job, pass it on the back and then wait until they find another job but then get them fired again. This is this thing he's talking about, but vaguely posting about it.
Studio. And once that perception takes hold, it doesn't matter how much money you dump into your marketing, that game is radioactive. We've seen this play out clearly with Concord and Avowed. In both cases,
hey, good old Concord. Earlier in the stream, if you weren't here, I talked about specifically how that's not true. That's not true at all. Concord had no fucking heat around it because no one cared about Concord. If you go on YouTube right now and you just type in Concord, you're going to see people talking about how the game was a failure. And that's it. There's nothing leading up to Concord. People were like, the Concord team was fucked up. They called us this. They said there was nothing there. Concord failed and then people paid attention to it. That's it. There's nothing to Concord. He's just mentioning it because it's so Dog whistle.
Players didn't just shrug their shoulders and move on. They actively rooted for failure. For Concord, the perception was that it wasn't just simply looking generic. It was that Sony was wasting their time and resources trying to chase something that nobody wanted.
That's so stupid, though. Like, that's his reasoning. They push because they think Sony was wasting their time. You don't get to decide that. Like, do you understand how insane all of this is? Do you understand how insane this all is? To be like, well, Concord, he just set this up by saying that developers are basically attacking their audience and not respecting their audience, not understanding their audiences. And that's why people thought they're being pushed away and they're going to push back against it. But what's the pushback against Concord? We just felt like Sony could have reallocated its sources to something else. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
By the time that game actually launched, it already had an audience that was determined to tear it down.
That's not true. That's also not true. That's a lie.
With Avowed, it wasn't just the visuals or mechanics that tanked its interest, it was the arrogance of its developers and the massive identity shift of that game from what it was promised and what was actually delivered.
I can attest to maybe the secondary part about like what it looked like originally, but it had nothing to do with the developer's ego. And like, what are you talking about, man? Like, hold on. Obsidian happy with the sales so far. I say it's happy. I say it's happy. So like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? You keep mentioning Avowed,
the thing
but for
I think
what?
Developers don't seem to understand is that the strongest backlash is coming from betrayal and alienation. It comes from the players that once cared, the people who believed in a franchise or in a trusted studio.
No, it's not, dude, because the people who actually care about the franchise will offer actual critique, but won't be like, this franchise fucking awful and terrible. I've seen people who were critiquing Dragon Age, who were big Dragon Age fans, but they're not saying the series is fucking dead and done. They're actually mad that EA has decided to kill the series, especially because when reporting came out how they were never fans of Dragon Age within internally in EA, and how they always treated it like the second fucking best compared to Mass Effect. A lot of Dragon Age fans were upset. So you don't know what you're talking about.
So it's also coming from potential customers who looked at a game's design and feel like it was never meant for them. In both cases, the message is still clear. This isn't for you anymore. And the irony is, backlash born from betrayal is almost always going to drown out support. A fan might recommend a game to their friends, but a disappointed player, oh, they will make sure everybody knows why they feel let down, posting, sharing, and amplifying their frustrations to make sure that they change the perception around a game.
No, again, he's not being honest. People do that shit for attention. Negativity sells on algorithms. That's why every fucking video that comes out by a new game is always a negative release. It's never positive.
That reaction is not coming out of nowhere. It's coming from people that feel dismissed or disrespected. And whether developers want to admit it or not, that's on them. If you present yourself as the face of a studio and you spend your time online mocking or alienating customers, you should not be surprised when those very same customers turn their frustration into a movement against you. That's the climate AAA developers are working in right now. And fair or not, it's just the reality of the situation.
No, you guys understand this too, that he's defending that, right? Like, make no mistake. He is defending consumers doing basically harassment campaigns against developers because of whatever slight they may have experienced from them, whether it's perceived or whatever. Like, this is a video in defense of this, 100%.
Making a fun game, that's just the foundation. But if your audience doesn't feel respected, they do not care how fun your game is. And the more developers that are out there that are confusing speaking as an individual with speaking as a representative of their company or of their game, well, they're just going to create more players who would rather see their entire project crash and burn than ever give it a chance. The reason I'm making this video and why I wanted to talk about this is because I don't like the direction that conversation and gaming is headed in right now. And it's because this hobby has always represented togetherness for me. This is how I met a lot of friends. It's how some of my friends have met friends and spouses and things like that. And it's always represented sharing your favorite games and memories and
things you can still fucking do, but go on.
Whatever else, interests. It's finding commonalities between people. This is like the best place to be able to do that. And
I wouldn't say that.
Well, there's always going to be some rivalries and outliers. I feel like there's just this culture rot that's extending from the industry itself and likely from their own developers. And it's just making this hobby not represent what it used to represent.
God, you are such a coward. It's not the developers the problem. It's the fucking gaming community. That's the problem. The developers are doing the same shit they were doing for the last, like, let's say 20 years, okay? Yes, there's microtransactions, but he's not talking about that. Yes, there are shitty predatory practices, which is talking about that. He's talking about like the discourse side. The developers are the ones with the problem. It's not the developer the problem. It's the audience. It's you losers who get so offended by fucking everything that someone can't even make a joke anymore. That's where we're at. It's you. You're the problem. You made a 21-minute video bitching about ultimately nothing. Nothing of substance. You're the problem. Like, the gaming community is the problem. And we can't have honest conversations about that, because the minute you start digging into that, then it becomes you're just a woke shill, or, you know, you're this, you're that. Of course you'd say that, but no one wants to actually talk about the fact that the gaming community's problem, real talk, is what I've said before, and I've made literal videos on this. It is allowing right-wing conservative talking points to dominate the discourse. There are game characters who, if they would have released them now instead of like even 5-6 years ago, would have had a shitstorm. You motherfuckers would have lost your mind if Samus was revealed to be a woman today. Like, it's insanity. Stop pretending that's not the case.
At least not for me. One of the things that I've been doing in the background is I've been doing some side research. I've been trying to figure out what the next gaming trend is going to be. Okay? Just put it out there. And essentially, I want to figure out what the next Fortnite or whatever that next thing is going to be. And I've been paying attention to a lot of communities and doing some background research. And the funny thing is that it's already happened. But for whatever reason, nobody's really talking about it or its social impacts. And it's the fact that there's a lot of people that are moving away from competitive environments and they're moving towards cooperative ones. Helldivers popped off. I think that was one of the first signal flares that I saw. Then after that, we saw Pal World. Then we saw Schedule One and Repo and Peak and these friend slop games that have now started to take over as well.
Friend slop.
And I think the reason why is because people are looking for togetherness. They're looking for a sense of community, and you really can't find that. My brother in Christ still play Call of Duty. That's not the new, and cooperative games are not, this isn't the new trend. They've been around forever. This isn't a new trend. In a lot of other spheres, not in the same way. Maybe it's me being sappy or philosophical, but I think the reason why is because people are looking for the meaning of playing video games again. And what I mean by that is entertainment and friendship. That's what this entire thing used to be.
No, that's not true.
These companies have a responsibility to their customers and also society at large. I'm sorry, what the fuck? How did we land here? So you're saying that games used to be about entertainment and friendship? Metal Gear Solid, Call of Duty, fucking Sonic the Hedgehog, the Lion King game. Maybe that's a little too niche. But like, if we go back in time, these aren't friendship fucking making games. Mario Kart is a friendship ender, first off. Mario Party 2, especially the fucking AI cheats. But he's making these broad assertions. Granted, he's saying it's his opinion, but he's making these just straight up verifiably wrong assertions. Like, maybe for you, again, gaming was all about friendships and all that stuff too. Motherfuckers weren't being friends playing Street Fighter. You think Justin Wong was happy that he got fucking parried to hell by Daigo in Evo? No. Because Evo is a competitive scene. People are still playing fighting games. They're having fighting game terms everywhere. The thing is, gaming has become broader. So now there are more games for more people. So of course a game like Peak, for example, will pop off. Even though in Peak, you can eat your fucking teammate. Doesn't seem very cooperative in that sense, but I digress. But those games are popping off. Helldivers, like you mentioned, it was just true, also popped off. But like, so was Hollow Knight, Silksong. So are a bunch of Liza P. So like, it's what's happening here is a diversity of games. We have enough diverse games where they can pop off and not be so niche. That's the trend, is diversifying games, not solely focusing on the bang bang shooting games. That's where the trend is going. That's what's happening. Look at a game like Expedition 33, right? Smaller development team, popped off. It's not a cooperative game. It's a single player RPG experience. Blueprints earlier this year also popped off. It's a roguelike puzzle game. Like,
these genres are getting bigger because they're diversifying gaming as a whole. So people who may not be able to play Hollow Knight can play Blueprints. People who are maybe not into playing Call of Duty can play Helldivers. There's bigger alternatives. That's what's happening here. It's not this, whatever you're talking about.
To root out whatever this culture rot is and where it's extending from. Maybe it's leadership, whatever it might be. They just need to figure it out. And they need to be more proactive about it rather than reactive. I think that I'm happy that Sony took a step forward by getting rid of the person, but that was a reactive step because they likely have hundreds of millions of dollars sunk into Ghost
what the
of
fuck
Yotei.
what the fuck
They
are
have
you
a bunch
gonna
of
do?
other games that have already failed. They definitely don't want another one, I'll tell you.
What the fuck are you talking about? What other Sony game besides Concord is like super failing? You won't mention that, whatever. But what does this mean?
But that was a reactive step because they likely have by getting rid of the person. But that was a reactive step because they likely have
right here
proactive about its leadership, whatever it might be. They just need to figure it out, and they need to be more proactive about it rather than reactive. I think.
What do you mean by proactive? Like my Minority Report type shit? Like what do you mean by that?
I'm happy that Sony took a step forward by getting rid of the person. But that was a reactive step because they likely have hundreds of millions of dollars sunk into Ghost of Yotei. They have a bunch of other games that have already
They actually don't. The budget is pretty small. I think it was like sub 90 million.
failed. They
Actually, hold on. Let me check. That news just came out today. So I can't fault him for not knowing. Yes, the budget is pretty comparable to Ghost of Tsushima, which is around 60 million. Yeah. So not hundreds of millions of dollars, but whatever.
definitely don't want another one. I'll tell you that right now. And this is their reaction to it. What I want to see instead is I want to see some of these companies proactively approaching this and figuring out the best way to fix it and making sure that their developers' ideals, their developers' values align with the needs of the customer. If we can get back to that, we can get
how
to
do
a
you do
really
that?
good place. I don't know what's coming. Society's in a really weird place right now. But all I know is that this hobby is supposed to mean something. This hobby is supposed to be a place where everyone can exist. It's supposed to be a place where everybody can get together, regardless of who you are. Everybody feels like they belong, and it hasn't felt that way. Game developers have gone out of their way to try to say that that's exactly what they're doing, but they've just alienated other people as a result.
But which people? You're such a fucking pussy, dude. I hate this guy so goddamn much, dude. Like he's talking about, oh, gaming should be all inclusive. This is the biggest crash I've ever seen. Everyone wants to control video games. They did this. The gamers finally admits that they're the problem. The complete and utter collapse of Bungie. They think fair is a good thing. Like, you're not fucking being inclusive at all. Like, hold on, let me watch this for a second.
We are living in incredibly strange times.
God damn, dude. Just say the fucking times. Nintendo patents. Nintendo patents. Okay. Like, oh my God. It's so annoying, dude. It's so fucking annoying because there's such an obvious issue happening here. And they're just going out of their way to avoid it. It's actually the issues. I can talk about the issues so long as I frame it as it's the gaming industry's fault, not our fault. Then I can talk about the fact that, yeah, they're super divisive and they say they want to be more inclusive, but they're just not being inclusive. Hey, your buddy Asmongold made a whole fucking video going after Take Us North, calling it an illegal alien simulator. Who do you think is being exclusive there? The people who made the game or the motherfuckers who are calling it an illegal alien simulator? Like, what the fuck, dude? It's like, stop being a pussy, man. I'm so tired of these guys being just like, we're in strange times and the world's getting crazy. Fucking talk about it, dude. Why don't you make some content that's not basically supporting divisive issues in gaming? Why don't you just straight up call it the fact that, yeah, I've seen people, no, talk about that shit. Who's doing that? You had no problem isolating Drew from Blue Sky. Why can't you talk about the rhetoric that your buddy Asmongold's put out? Why can't you talk about the rhetoric of like the grifters that you have to have seen on YouTube, since you said that you've been seeing these discussions? Why aren't you talking about the fact that they're only putting out negative shit about games? He won't say that, but he'll say that, look at the press is so bad for this game. But I'm not going to look into who's actually putting the negativity out there. Like, god damn. Exactly. He expects every fucking game to be his preference. He wants to say, oh no, but his whole video is full of contradictions, by the way. It starts off with saying, literally, I believe people should have their opinions. And then under a minute later, it says, actually, game developers shouldn't voice their opinions. Like, everything that he does, what he does is the most annoying shit, is he tries to be like, I'm the sane, rational voice in here. Let me put on my calm, rational thing. But he obviously has a strong hatred of like the video game industry. Right? Like, he's not able to be reflexive. He's not able to actually look at things holistically and go, hey, you know what? I've been noticing this trend that's been permeating since fucking Gamergate, in which there was a loud, vocal minority of people who make it their life's mission to bring up all the negative aspects of games and try to attribute that to its failure. And most of the attributions can be boiled down to LGBTQ people are present, or it's too much diversity in here. But he won't talk about that. Weird, huh? How he won't talk about the obvious shit that you can see if you just type in an upcoming game's name. You'll just see people being upset about it. Like, it's insane. Like, I don't. You saw people being upset over goddamn not being able to see a 15-year-old girl's underwear in a video game. Will you talk about that? Nah. Look at this shit. Silent Hill F is feminist garbage made for the modern audience. The F stands for female. Like, you think he's going to talk about people like this putting out content like that makes shit more divisive and less inclusive in the gaming space? Of fucking course not.
Bro, come on, you're a smart guy. Ghost of Yote is obviously going to have a lot of commentary in it. I don't know. I don't judge before the game comes out. It's as simple as that. The first time I choose to do that, it's going to come to bite me in the fucking ass. We can always point back to Baldur's Gate 3 and say it had everything. It had the whole list of everything that people say is the worst shit in the fucking world for video games today. Yet the game still succeeded. Always comes down to the quality of the storytelling and the actual quality of the game and whether the game is good or not. So whether or not the game has the commentary or not doesn't really fucking matter. What really matters is whether or not it actually delivers. It's pretty easy to see when a game is going to have issues. I like almost all of your takes, but I think this one is wrong. I don't think that it is. People said the exact same thing about fucking Split Fiction. Oh my god, it's too well done. It's two girls. They're not overly sexualized enough. They're not attractive enough. I already know exactly what kind of game this is going to be. And then all those motherfuckers flipped the second the game came out, and it was good.
And yet we just saw you in a video talking about how, we saw you in a video just now not even addressing that. Like, not even addressing that. That's what I'm saying. Like, he can say it on the stream because no one's gonna clip that, watch that, but like, why is that not in your videos? Why are you never making videos talking about people need to stop doing this shit? It's never that. Like, it's never that. The guy conscious doesn't say, yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. But even his content, like most of his published content video is just shit like that. But he never just goes like, hey, you guys should stop doing this shit. It's like, well, you know, he was saying about Baldur's Gate 3. Yes, they did. And Split Fiction's like, yes. What do you think is the issue then, my guy? You keep saying that, oh, things are getting divisive, and then you're pointing it to the game industry. The same game industry that fucking made Split Fiction. In fact, the director for Hazelight Studios, what's his name? Joseph, fuck his name. Joseph Fares? Yes, Joseph Fares. He was basically like, you guys are fucking stupid. He said that to his audience. You just made a video that said that you shouldn't do that, and yet his shit sold well, right? Like, do you see what I'm talking about? How it's just massive contradictions what he says. He says that you shouldn't do that. Developers shouldn't do that. Here's the head of the fucking company telling you guys to eat his ass because his game's good, and you guys are stupid for calling it woke and whatever. He said that shit. Like, he literally talked about that. Like, and I'm just like, it's so funny because he also mentions that, right? And he hit back against gamers who were saying that shit, which is awesome, which is what you should do. But he doesn't, Legendary Drops don't do that. That whole video was a waste. Exactly. He's saying, I don't judge games before they come out. We're going to bite me in the ass. And then here you're saying that the games basically is going to be not sell as well because the developers said something bad about it. Like, I don't know, man. It's watching his stuff is tiring for me. Like, you have that huge audience and you're still going to basically placate the fucking anti-woke losers by essentially making videos that they can be like, yeah, he's on our side. He's on our side. Which I still think he is. But like, you can't. And just the fact in the video, he was like, well, I don't have any strong opinions about things. And then goes on to voice his opinions about things. People have always done this to hip hop music, though. They've always done that shit. Like, yeah, and then he said in this video, people will make a movement to to make sure people won't play his games that they don't like. And I'm like, you want to talk about why that's weird and bad and stupid? Like, you want to actually dive into that instead of making a video talking about these people are trying to destroy their studios? You know who's trying to destroy studios? The fucking grifters you so obviously want to ignore talking about. Do anti-woke viewers even play these games? For the most part, no. For the most part, no. I distinctly remember, hell, even when it's a game they support, Grums is the one who started to say about the Blade petition. He didn't play it. At the time he made a petition, oh shit, he didn't play it. In fact, I still think he hasn't played the game. He hasn't played most games he talks about. The people online who were like, I'm not going to order, I'm going to count. You were never going to play this game. You were never going to play Ghost of Tsushima. I'm sorry, Ghost of Yote. You were never going to play it. But again, negativity gets attention. So that's why people do that shit. Legendary Drops, his videos are all framed negatively too. Like, whether the content is negative or not, it's immaterial because all of his shit is framed as negative stuff. Like, literally all of it is framed as negative shit. Once again, they want control. They're crashing out. They don't care. And then you have Silk Song's wake up call. They did this. It's over. $400 million gone. They think it's a good thing. Like, they're like, all of his shit is framed in a negative way. Activision is a cancer. This game tried to fool everyone. This is a threat. They'll think you'll pay. Only real fans can buy Borderlands 4. And guess what? His background footage was him most likely playing Borderlands 4. Like, it's insane, dude. They're cooked. They did, like, all of his shit is framed in a way to get attention, and it's framed negatively. Besides this right here with Silk Song, which is probably a video framed to make the attack the AAA industry, everything is framed negatively here. So, like, he is exactly the kind of person he was talking about, being divisive. IGN completely crashed out. Warner Bros. Self-destructing. Well, Monster Hunter WoW is this wake-up call. They can't compete. They are like, it's and you know who does this shit like this? Fucking Indiamon. Say type of shit. They do the same fucking shit, dude. And it's so goddamn annoying because they want to sit here and act like they're these voices of reasons. They want to sit here and act like they're above it all when they're all in the same shit. They're all in the same campus grifters to me, man. Like, it's just all annoying shit, dude. It's so fucking annoying. Oh, okay. I just realized if I ever got like on the radar of like all these people, they'd probably clip that back. He's crashing out. He's crashing out. It's like, my thing is too is, and this is me being, well, I'm more sincere. I'm being sincere here. If you truly give a shit about the gaming space, then be honest about the actual issues. Stop trying to pin literally everything on the people developing the games. Not saying that the game industry is perfect. You guys have seen my content. I'm very obviously against a lot of the practices they do, but to frame it as just like it's solely the issue of the industry and not the gaming audience is bullshit. You can't say you want this space to be a place where everyone feels included when there are content creators bigger than yourself who are pushing out divisive rhetoric on a near daily basis. And you don't address it. How can you try to be like, oh, gaming is for inclusive all people, and you never use your platform to talk about, to make a counterpoint to the rhetoric that go out there? Why are you not countering in your videos, people trying to say games are bad because too many women are in it? You did in clearly your live stream, but why not make that actual video so people can see it? Why are you not doing that? And I'm not just saying just legendary drops. I'm saying to anybody in the space who says they want it to be back where it used to be, which honestly wasn't even a good space. I do want games to be more inclusive, which is why I always push back on the rhetoric that even like his shit like his, where it's essentially running defense for shittier people or the shittier people. I'll push back on that too. Because I actually do care about this space, and not in some esoteric bullshit way that people can make me more, more digestible. I care about it in a way that I do not want these fucking bigoted people to feel comfortable here. I don't think that's a good space for anybody. You should not accept bigotry. I don't want this space to be full of people who think they get to dictate what games should and should not be made. Okay? Even though I am not a fan of a lot of like those like sexual assault games, I'm not here to dictate what does and doesn't get made. But if I'm going to be in this space, I want to be able to be in this space. I'm so tired of people trying to be like, well, you know, you can be here, but you can't talk about politics. You can't say this, man. Things have to go this way. This game. It's like, no, if this is an inclusive space, then it's an inclusive space. Make videos talking about there's too many trans people or pronouns. I thought we're being inclusive. I thought she wanted people to make friends and meet people. And I do think it is up to people with platforms, no matter how small. I mean, you're looking at me right now. No matter how big, no matter how small, I think if you're talking about how you want this space to be more inclusive, then you need to be sure that you are doing whatever you can to make your space more inclusive. Which means not being accepting of bigotry, which means being honest about the actual issues going on. This whole stream, I showed you guys talking about the tariffs, right? With the Microsoft increasing the pricing because of tariffs. That's an actual issue going on here. I've talked about multiple issues in gaming, including with companies like Ubisoft, right? These are the actual issues. I talked about how Project 20 was going to be bad for video games. Those are actual issues that affect development. A fucking tweet or a blue sky post is not indicative of deep-seated issues in video games. What is indicative, though, from the consumer side, is the reaction to that and the multiple harassment campaigns that followed that. The Charlie Tweets Detected thing coming up. The list being compiled by Grumps to send to Asmongold to make a video to his millions of followers. That is an issue. But of course, I don't think Legendary Drops is the kind of person who will cover that because he is under the Asmongold umbrella, which is why he won't talk about shit that Tectone says or Asmongold or anyone adjacent to that. But he's more than happy to pin all of the things that they do onto the gaming industry. I think it's fake and it's bullshit. I think it's coward shit. think it's coward shit. Like it's this. I just think it's cowardice, man. I really do.